Hey people, John here from Fast Films, and today we're going to go through a 2019 crime movie called Lying and Stealing. The movie begins with an art thief named Ivan, robbing the home of a wealthy man during a party. He makes his way from the basement of the house to the living room. He asks a waitress where the hosts of the party are and uses that opportunity to survey their house for cameras. During a magic trick performed by one of the guests, Ivan meets Elise, who pretends her name is Marjorie. They both get acquainted, and he tells her that his name isn't Ivan. She asks him what his mission at the party is, and he tells her that he's an art consultant. The host of the party rallies the guests and asks them to join them by the poolside for a poetry reading. Ivan excuses himself and makes his way to recreate the steel sculpture he wants to steal. He places the replica of a sculpture on the tabletop, but gets distracted by the daughter of the host. He gives the little girl a glass of wine to pass to Elise and makes his way out of the house. In the next scene, Ivan stashes some money in a safe and gets a call from his brother's, Raymond's, rehab center. The administrator complains about his behavior and tells him they would have to send him out of the center. Ivan leaves the center with Raymond and heads to a restaurant. They hold a moment of silence for their father who just passed on. Afterward, Ivan takes Raymond to his house and tells him it's just temporary arrangement and would have to find him somewhere else to live. Raymond appreciates the help and hugs him. Up next, Raymond delivers a stolen sculpture to his client, Ivan, and tells him that he is quitting after 2 more robberies. Ivan tells him that he's not ready to let him go, and tells him they need to make hay while the sun shines. Ivan hands him a paper containing the address of the next target before Ivan leaves. In the next scene, Elise dresses up and heads to a house party, which coincidentally is Ivan's next target. They run into each other in the bathroom, and she asks him to do her a favor. Elise tells her that she needs him to pretend to be her boyfriend in order to prevent a movie producer from asking her out. The movie producer, Giovanni, comes to introduce himself to Ivan. He asks them how they know the host of the party, Paul, and they lie to him that they met Paul at a party in New York. Giovanni points out that the artwork in the house is ugly before leaving them to enjoy the party. Ivan and Elise head to the pool room and place a bet on a game of pool. Ivan cites a famous artwork and tells Elise about the creator. She asks him if the artwork is worth anything, and he tells her he doesn't know. Elise tells him how she got blacklisted in Hollywood and also wins the bet. Giovanni comes to join them in the pool room and tells Elise he would like to introduce her to a rich friend. Ivan uses this opportunity to steal the artwork and leaves the house. The next day, he takes the artwork to his client and offers him another job. The client tells him the next target is one of the first portraits of Adolf Hitler. He tells Ivan that the house has no security. He informs Ivan that after the job, he would do one more job and they would be done. He gives Ivan one last warning about the owner of the house, a man named Wolf. He tells him that Wolf is a decorated ex-military and a sharpshooter who took out 16 enemy soldiers on his own. Ivan asks to use the bathroom and finds the bathroom walls filled with blood and the mirrors are broken. He returns to the sitting room and the client shows him a painting Ivan's father once stole for him. In the next scene, the couple Ivan robbed earlier finally discovers that they have been robbed and report to the police. The FBI agent tells him he doubts they would be able to recover the artwork. He also asks him if there was anyone who he wasn't familiar with at the party. Mr. Brooks tells him about the man who asked her to give a lady a glass of wine. Upon hearing this, the FBI agent asks to be provided with the party's guest list. Afterward, the FBI agent pins a facial sketch of Ivan on his board. Up next, Ivan makes his way to the house of the next target. He feeds Wolf's dogs some sedated meat, which knocks them out. Wolf places 2 bowls of meat outside for his dogs and then settles down to have his dinner. He becomes worried when he stops hearing the dogs bark and goes to check on them. He finds out that the dogs haven't eaten their food and that they're not in their kennels. Wolf goes inside his basement to retrieve his gun while Ivan stages a robbery in Wolf's sitting room. Wolf returns to his sitting room and finds it turned upside down. He figures out that there is an intruder in the house and goes to look for him. Ivan, who has been hiding inside the house, uses this opportunity to search the basement for the portrait. He finds it hidden under a Nazi flag and stashes it in a bag before running away. Up next, Alice pays Ivan a surprise visit and he invites her to a bar for another game of pool. At the bar, she tells him that she stole from a movie maker who blacklisted her and owes him $200,000. Ivan offers her a job to pose as a house buyer in the next job, and she accepts it. In the next scene, the FBI agent carries out surveillance outside Ivan's house. Raymond shows Ivan a newspaper article about a man who was taken out and dumped in the river. He hands Ivan a gun and tells him to be careful. He also points out to him that a man has been surveilling the house all day. Up next, Elise plays poker at a casino and loses. She heads to a roulette table and steals some chips from a high roller. She heads to the movie producer's house and pays him some of the money she owes. Afterward, Ivan meets his client and tells him that an FBI agent is after him. The client threatens him with a gun and asks him to tell the truth. Ivan tells him he knows nothing about the FBI and tells him that the Hitler portrait is his insurance against being taken out. The client gives him details of the next target and asks him to take care. Ivan heads to a restaurant and meets the FBI agent. He asks him why he's following him, but the agent tells him he isn't following him, but observing him. The agent tells him that he wasn't hard to find and reads all his previous jobs to him. He tells Ivan that he caught him using the little girl. The agent tells him he wants to partner with Ivan and wants him to deliver his client to him. Up next, Ivan and Elise head to the next target, and while she talks to the house agent, Ivan searches the house for a sculpture. He resurfaces and they leave the house. Elise asks him if he found anything and he tells her that he didn't. He also spots the FBI agent watching him. They arrive at Ivan's house, and in his car, she asks him what happened to the painting at the party they attended. He opens up to her and tells her that he works for Dmitri, who also plans to take him out. She offers to help him, and he tells her that he isn't interested. Elise walks away angrily, and he goes after her and apologizes. He tells her that he needs her help, and afterward they head to his apartment and have relations. The next morning, Elise wakes up alone in the bed and searches the house. She meets Raymond, who's about to leave for work. Ivan returns and tells her that Raymond is going to a bar to gamble and get drunk. He tells her that Raymond suffers from bipolar disorder and substance abuse problem. Raymond tries to discourage her from helping him, but she tells him she isn't backing down. Raymond leaves the house, and one of Dimitri's men come to ransack his apartment in search of the Hitler portrait. He steals Ivan's safe and carries it to his car. Raymond returns and calls Ivan to inform him that the house was broken into. Meanwhile, the henchman breaks into the safe but finds nothing inside. Afterward, Ivan meets with the FBI agent in his car and shares part of the plan with him. The second part of the plan involved Elise going to a fancy restaurant and flirting with Dmitri. Elise and Dmitri get acquainted over a bottle of red wine, and she asks him what he does for a living. Dmitri tells her that he's an art consultant, and she tells him that she's an actress. She tells him that she's there to meet a movie producer, but he seems to be running late. Dmitri excuses himself to go to the bathroom and returns to find Elise disappointed that the producer stood her up. Elise asks Dmitri if he'd like to go for a ride in her limousine, and he agrees. She tells him that they'll be going to a house in Laguna Beach, and her driver would bring him back the next day. The movie flashes back to 96 minutes earlier. Ivan breaks into Dimitri's house and takes out the henchman, who turns out to be a twin. He also takes out the other henchman and uses his phone to send a message to Dmitri. Elise and Dmitri arrive at Laguna Beach, and Raymond, who is posing to be the limousine driver, goes to pour them a glass of wine. Back at Dimitri's house, Ivan tells the FBI agent that Dmitri now believes that he is dead and they can arrest Dmitri in the morning. Back at the house in Laguna Beach, Elise hands Dmitri a glass of wine, and he asks her why she brought him there. She asks him to guess, and he tells her that she chose him because she has daddy issues. He brings out his gun and asks her to put her leg on the couch. He tells her that he knows she is pretending and asks Raymond to step into the sitting room to smell his cologne. Raymond comes closer to him, and he leans in to smell the cologne. Dmitri knocks him out and tells him he's a loser just like his father was. Elise tries to attack Dmitri but fails. He points a gun at her and asks her to sit on top of him. He tells her that he got a text from his henchman telling him that Ivan is dead. Ivan suddenly walks in and points a gun at Dimitri's head. Dmitri tells him he knows that Ivan is planning to set him up for stealing a painting and applauds the plan's brilliance. He drinks the glass of wine and then brings out a gun, which he points at Elise. Ivan tells him to drop the gun, but Raymond tells him to hold on. Ivan surrenders and tells him that they can come to an agreement. He stalls for a time, and then suddenly Dmitri begins to feel uneasy. A flashback reveals that Raymond had lethally drugged the wine before handing it over to Dmitri. Dmitri begins to foam in the mouth and then collapses. The next day, Ivan calls the FBI agent and tells him where to find Dimitri's body. The FBI agent finds the body and also some stolen artwork. Ivan also pays off the movie producer who Elise owes. The movie ends with Elise starting a gas leak at a party. It's revealed that she and Ivan have teamed up to rob a new target. Thanks for watching, guys.